More fire, more heat, and always keeping the G.O.D. Shout out to all my new subscribers and peace to all my universal family. Got another book review, and this time we taking it to my hometown, Montgomery, Alabama. Slavery in America, the Montgomery slave trade. Let's kick it.
I been official, big dog in the yard, voting most likely to murder every birthday I start.
Slavery in America, the Montgomery slave trade. Before we get started, salute the ancestors. Yeah, salute the ancestors. Man, because they deserve that, and we could never forget about the sacrifices that were made by our ancestors during the slave trade. And they talk about it in this book, Slavery in America. And I read this book, very recently, a couple months ago. So, I always put the start dates in most of my books. Not all of them, because I don't remember all the time, but in most of my books, I put the start date. And this is not a very, very large book, but it's a very informative book, and I like it, man. And, it's from my hometown, and I like it, I like the knowledge that was put into this book. But also, before we get started, it's story time. I already had this book, and I didn't know it. This is an older copy, right? So, quick story. My mother sent me a package. Now, I don't know if somebody sent her this package to give to me, but my name was all on this package, right? And I'm thinking this may be from the first year, I may be wrong, of the Slave Museum, the Equal Justice Initiative. And she sent me this, and it had a calendar. That's a dope calendar. And I just read it when I was moving. Well, I just got a chance to look in this package when I was moving. You know what I'm saying? So this was way in 2015. I'm just getting to it, Mama. I'm sorry. Also, right? Another quick story about this book. It's people in the world you may call your brother from another. You know what I'm saying? And I got a certified street legend as someone who we call brothers. He called me as a brother, and I call him my brother. We've been down for, over 30 years, right? And he was living that life. He was really one of them guys, in the city. But, he done changed his life for the better, and he done, starting to get some knowledge about himself in the past couple years. But anyway, I go to his new house, right? And this book, I thought he was baiting me or something, but this book was on the coffee table. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, he lived that life, and it's just starting to get knowledge of self. So it's most of the time it's a bunch of nigga shit around, but since bro cleaning up a whole bunch of things about his life, this was on the table, a book like that, a copy of it. So I'm coming from out of town, so I'm coming to kick it. We finna share a blow, do what we do. You know what I'm saying? But and sit back and kick it. I'm looking at this book though on the table, and I say, yo, bro, where you get that book from, man? What this book about? Cause I see slavery in America, the Montgomery slave trade. And bro was like, somebody gave it to him. He was like, man, you can have it. I was like, nah, bro, where they got it from? So I'm looking in it while we talking and we rolling up and we dealing with some equality. Naturally, I get to looking at my phone and Googling stuff. And I said, yo, man, this from the Slave Museum? And he was like, yeah. And he was telling me what he heard about it because he haven't been there. Yo, man, go check that museum out in Montgomery, man. That's $5 well spent. And I think we paid $10 a piece because, man, my brother, it's two sides. And I think they building the third side, but that's what drew me to this book, First, I found out my mama gave me the book in 2015, the first copy of it, the first edition. And then my brother from another, he had this on his coffee table in his house. So that's what pulled me in to go to the Slave Museum. You know what I'm saying? So the next day, which was a Sunday, and I remember it was cold, and it was in February, and we Me and my brother took a field trip to the slave museum before I hit the road back where I live at, and he hit the road back where he live at. You know, we just spent a day at the slave museum. You know, the monument at the Peace and Justice Memorial Center also. Now this is where we walked in to get the books from, because I bought down there every book they had in there. They had a whole bunch of books, you know, in there, and you know, it was a pretty. That was an interesting place, man. And I would tell everybody, yo, man, go and check that place out. Back in this book, they gave a timeline and a chronology of the events leading up to the slave trade and during the slave trade. You know, they also talked about those horrible boat rides on those nasty slave ships. You know, they even talked about the mind manipulation that they was doing, you know, on the slaves. You know, even going as far as to talk about religion and slavery. When slavery began in North America in the 17th century, the lands that would become the United States were colonies held by the British, and British law forbade the enslavement of Christians. Most Africans then practiced Islam or African folk religions, and as Christian missionaries set out to convert enslaved Africans in the colonies, British slave owners worried that they would lose their enslaved property if Africans were no longer seen as non-Christian heathens. You see what kind of tricks they was doing? And it almost backfired. Basically, in the beginning, some kind of weird way, if you were a Christian, you couldn't be a slave. You know, that's a photo that's been floating around for years, man. You know, with the back, you know, from all those whoopings, you know, man. Salute the ancestors. But it says, in the slave man, Private Gordon was beaten so frequently that the multiple whippings left graphic scars depicted in this 1863 photograph. Oh man, they talked about the economics of the slave trade, and they also talked about why it was just so fruitful down here in the South. You know, they also talked about something very, very interesting on how people thought about us. You know, it said banks and creditors accepted enslaved human property as collateral when underwriting loans and were authorized to repossess enslaved people if a debtor failed to repay the loan. In this way, financial institutions became directly involved in the slave trade. So the bank can repo you. Basically is what that's saying. You know what I'm saying? Yo, that's terrible, man. Just even the thought of that, man. The bank can go and take your slave. Man, you owe me some money and you ain't pay for your tractor. So I gotta take this family from you as slaves. And they gonna stay slaves though. Man, that's messed up. You know, this book, just like that museum, y'all should go and check that museum out. You know, it had some very, very sad things that was happening to us, man. And it almost, you know, you can't even believe it. You know, it says, press accounts documented the heartbreaking stories of enslaved mothers who jumped from buildings and enslaved fathers who slit their throats rather than be separated from their families. Hey, man, that's like our uncles and our real OGs, man, saying, man, I'll slit my throat, man, before I get separated from my family. You know, man, that's shit, man, that's deep, man, that's deep. You know what I'm saying? And when mothers jump from buildings, shit, man, I ain't finna be no slave. For real, you know, I ain't, hey, man, you can enslave me, but you ain't finna separate me from my family. You know, that's what that's saying. You know, you already got me on one arm, but you ain't finna win all over. I gonna check up out of here, you know. And plus, if most of them was practicing African religions, they already knew what time it was, you know what I'm saying? You know, continuing with the economics of the slave trade, you know, they talked about why Montgomery was just so big and had a stronghold in the slave trade. You know, even on this where it says in 1820, it was only 2,655 slaves in Montgomery, Alabama. By 1860, it was 23,710 documented slaves in Montgomery, Alabama. You know, so after 40 years, look at those numbers after 40 years, you know what I'm saying? And you know, they gave pictures on how Montgomery used to look and how downtown looked. And they just talked about, you know, just basically that, cause I'm from there and I just know about it, and I got knowledge of self. You know, so I've been doing the knowledge on Montgomery, Alabama, and the slave trade. You know, they just talked about just everything. You know, even they had the slave depot downtown. You know what I'm saying? Down at the riverfront. You know what I'm saying? Where they building it up and it's all nice and pretty. You know, man, it wasn't like that all the time, man. You know, yo, it says even in Montgomery how they was kidnapping slaves and free so-called black people. You know how they was kidnapping us. You know, it's a book. You know, it has a lot of information, and it also talks about, you know, just what people really thought about us. And, you know, especially in Montgomery, Alabama. It says under Alabama law, the color of a black person's skin gave rise to the presumption that he or she was a slave. So if you black, they like, hold up. It says, in fact, in 1833, the Alabama legislature banned free black people from residing in the state. So you couldn't be free or free so-called black man in Montgomery, Alabama, man, in 1833. For real, man, real talk. You couldn't be free. So if you came from up north thinking you was finna come down here and make some money as a free slave, a free man, like a free man with a card carrying free man, boy, we finna put your ass in slavery down here, man. That's a mentality, man. That's something to think about, man. And like I said, since I'm from there, you know, I already understand. I already know what's going on, man, and how they think about us and how they was think about us. You know, they talked about the slave mart, you know what I'm saying, the slave store, or the slave auction, you know what I'm saying. Speaking of that slave auction and economics a little bit more, they talked about how they treated our ancestors like a piece of meat, man. You know, if you had gray hairs, you know, they would get you a prescription to blacken your hairs, you know, so they could get more money for you at the auction. You know what I'm saying? They will pluck your gray hairs out. It says it. It will pluck your gray hairs out to make you look younger, you know, so you can get more money for it. I'm just saying, man, any man with gray hairs or whatever, you know, that's an older man. Man, you don't need to be no slave anyway. Nobody needs to be a slave, but they just showing how they trying to get all the money out of you, out of all of your years. So if you going gray, hey man, we still got to get a few more thousand out your soul. Shit, man, we got to put some down. Now that dye, since this is way back then, I'm pretty sure it was washing out while they was sweating. You know, and that's messed up, man, that they was doing our ancestors like that, man. You know, treating them like a piece of meat. They talking about the church, and you know, they was talking about, you know, just all the sexual deviant behavior that was going on, man, on them plantations. What they was doing to the man, the woman, and the child. You know what I'm saying? Nobody, you know, was exempt, you know, from all that type of deviant behavior. You know, but this was a real good book, man. Like, just even if you wanted to get your beak wet and wanted to know about slavery, you know, this was a very good book. It got nice quotes, it got nice pictures, you know. And since I'm from here, you know, it just, you know, I can close my eyes and walk downtown. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, just have that vision in my head of walking downtown and just seeing. You know what I'm saying? The slave trade and the things that were going on in the Montgomery slave trade. You know, I ain't gonna talk about everything in the book. You know, like I said, it's a very short book, but you should check this book out, man. Slavery in America, the Montgomery slave trade. You know, hey man, add that to your arsenal. Or, like I said, use it as a beginner's book. You know, when you want to just teach somebody about slave, or open them up to the slave trade and what was really going on. Cause hey, in my city, you know, I think a lot of people forgot about everything that was going on during these times. And these times wasn't long ago, man. This was in the 1900s. So, you know, hey man, they gave dates on things, they gave articles on things, man. And like I said, since I'm from here, I could just visualize, how they was treating us, and just the sentiment in the so if those were the great granddaddies who was the slave owners, that mean shit, they kids and grandkids is my age and they still out there. So check this one out, man. Slavery in America, the Montgomery slave trade. Like I said, man, check this book out. And some people don't even believe the slave trade existed. You know what I'm saying? Some people say that, it was no such thing as a slave trade, and we haven't recovered the ships from the slave trade and all this and that. But when you reach back and you go back and do the knowledge, man, that slavery was a real thing, So go check this one out, man. Slavery in America, the Montgomery slave trade. It's the bearded Heru. Yo, go check them other videos out. Them some cold pieces. Come on and like and subscribe so you can come on and vibe what you got. It's the bearded Heru, and everything is real.
I've been official, big dog in the